understand? Yeah.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of For the Love of Wrestling. I am, of course, your host, the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams. Happy Monday here across the multiverse. It's a good day. It's good to see everybody. Thank you all for tuning in as always. See Walter in the chat room. What's going on, brother? Good to see you. Man, quite the weekend. And we've got a whole nother week worth of wrestling content coming up. And then at the end of the show, there will be a special announcement regarding the following week that I will make for y'all. Excuse me there. But we're going to kick off the show today discussing Rampage. And Rampage kicked off with, in my opinion, AEW's MVP of the year, Orange Cassidy, teaming up with Marshall and Ross Von Erich to take on Daddy Magic Matt Menard, Cool Hand Angelo Parker, and Jake Hager. And this was just a fun match to kick off Rampage, kick off the show. I've said it 100 times. I'll continue to say it. Daddy Magic Matt Menard and Cool Hand Ange have great in-ring chemistry. I wish they could get away from the goofy gimmicks and become a more serious tag team, because I could definitely see them being tag team champions. They've got the ability to them. You know, the Von Erichs looked absolutely fantastic against the former JAS members. You know, the Von Erichs got the win via the claw. Post-match, the former JAS members all gang up on the Von Erichs, while Hager tries to get his hat back from Danhausen, who's out there at ringside. Of course, he's been with Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends lately. Kevin Von Erich comes out, makes the save, locks the Iron Claw, and gets a huge pop from the Dallas crowd. Again, just a fun way to start off the show. We then go backstage, and Mark Briscoe is backstage, and he's being interviewed, and he's asked what there is to fight for now that he's basically eliminated from the tournament. He can't win. And Briscoe says that this is basically like his rookie year. Planet Jarrett come through, Jeff Jarrett, Karen Jarrett, Jay Lethal, and Sanjay Dutt. And they decide to take some shots at him. And Briscoe asks Lethal why he's still hanging around with these clowns. What have they done for him? And Jay kind of backs them off. He was like, you know what, guys, I got this. Go ahead. I'll catch y'all later. So Jeff, Sanjay, and Karen all take off. And we have this nice little interaction between Jay Lethal and Mark Briscoe. And they reminisce about their times past in Ring of Honor and say that on Wednesday, their battle is going to be for honor. So is this teasing maybe a possible Jay Lethal babyface turn here? Is Jay Lethal just trying to set Mark Briscoe up? Trust him? This was a very interesting encounter, because Briscoe's right. As much as I love Planet Jarrett, as much as I preach the greatness of the former Horseman, the former leader of the NWO, the former Bullet Club member, Planet Jarrett has done jack diddly shit for Jay Lethal. They haven't been able to conquer the tag titles. He hasn't been able to get any other title. So maybe going solo would be what's best, especially going into a new year for Jay Lethal. You know, they always say new year, new me. So maybe a new start for Lethal going through into 2024 is exactly what the doctor ordered. Jeff has joined the chat. What is going on, boss man? Von Erichs on a global stage in 2023. What a wild time. Abso-freaking-lutely. It's just too bad there's no Freebird kids to do a Von Erich Freebird program. And he also says, as much as I personally enjoy Team Jarrett, I'm hoping we get some babyface Lethal before he calls it a career. Agreed. Lethal's one of those guys, man, who can do either way. But for some reason, I just like him better as a babyface. We then had Powerhouse Hobbs and Kyle Fletcher versus Hunter Gray and Paul Titan. And the fact that you don't know those names should tell you exactly what this was. Squash match next. After the match, Don Callis gets on the microphone and says the Golden Jets formed out of fear of the Callis family. Says that going forward, it's Callis family rules, where any two members may go after the Jets at any time. Of course, this was before we would get the reports about Kenny Omega being laid up. I can't pronounce it, forgive me. Divictulitis, something like that. It's the same thing that Brock Lesnar suffered during his UFC career. But Kenny Omega is out of action now indefinitely. Not sure what's going to happen to this angle. They may have to move the tag title shot off of the Golden Jets because they've got a tag title shot anytime, any place, anywhere. But if Omega's not going to be back for 6 months, 9 months, maybe a year, who knows when they're going to be able to capitalize on it. Thank you, Jeff, for breaking it down for me. Diverticulitis. Still a hard word to say, damn it. But yeah, I'm curious to see what's going to happen to this Golden Jets angle. You know, is Jericho going to get to pick another partner to have the tag title shot? Is Jericho going to be forced to defend the title shot against the Callis family and then lose the title shot to them? Is Jericho just going to wait and then when Kenny comes back, turn heel on Omega and go on this whole maybe like you abandoned me thing? It's going to be interesting to see how this develops. You know, we often criticize AEW for their lack of storylines, and it's true. Their storytelling is beyond subpar compared to other companies. But they have a golden opportunity, pun intended here, to do something with this and turn it into an angle, long-term storytelling. How AEW capitalizes on it, it's a whole other story. And yes, the old professor does come through every once in a while. Backstage, we have Ruby Soho, who's talking a little bit about her loss on Dynamite and says that she has been distracted. Saraya comes in and says that Ruby needs her. She doesn't need Ruby. Ruby then goes on to say that if Saraya thinks it's so easy, let's see if she can beat Riho on her own. So, this coming week on Dynamite, we're going to get Saraya versus Riho. And the winner is going to get Timeless Tony Storm at World's End. Now, Magic 8 Ball. Who should win this match? All signs point to Saraya. Saraya pinned Tony at All In to become champion. Tony and Saraya at World's End. Revenge here. Just seems like it makes perfect sense. Jeff says, worst case scenario, the original owners of the title shot get it back. No, Jeff, that's a bad Jeff. We then got Anna Jay versus Red Velvet. And this was a good match here, but it wasn't a great match. I don't have anything against either of the women in this match, but I feel like there's better women in the division. They were well booked, though, tonight between this, the Ruby segment, and everything. Anna Jay got the victory. Good for her. Main event trios match. Action Andretti and Top Flight versus Commander, El Hijo del Vikingo, and Penta El Cielo Miedo. And this was just another amazing main event. These guys really know what to do. They know how to pop a crowd. Penta is fantastic. I can't wait to get back to Republic of Lucha. Unfortunately for you SoCal natives, Republic of Lucha is closing their doors at the end of the year here. They're relocating. They haven't announced the new location yet, but I believe they said that Christmas Eve was going to be their last day that the storefront would be open, closing those doors on Christmas Eve. They announced online they will still be doing online orders through the 28th, and then nothing until they get moved into and open the doors of the new location. So if you're in SoCal, follow Republic of Lucha, owned by Penta El Cielo Miedo and Ray Fenix, and be on the lookout for their new location to reopen. But man, I've become a huge Penta fan since starting watching AEW. Like, no shit, I've been scouting the internet to try to find me a Penta mask to go alongside my El Renegado de la Lucha Libre mask, but I digress. There was a lot of fantastic action here from all six men. Dante Martin got the victory here in almost a surprise upset, but if you figure that it was the match with Penta where he broke his foot, and the AEW has not shied away from replaying that footage, like his foot was turned around from the Ring of Honor match earlier this year on WrestleMania weekend. Cringe at its best. But seeing Dante Martin able to get the victory here, pick that victory up, awesome match. That was Rampage, though. I'm curious to know what you guys thought about that. Let me know. Leave your thoughts in the comments. We are going to take a quick break, as we always do on Mondays, to kind of buffer these. Get your screenshotters ready. We're going to show you how you can find and follow all the friends of the Jeff Meacham Network, Multiversa Media. We'll be back in about 30 seconds. So there you go. That is how you can find and follow all the members of the Multiversa Media, from Walter Cruz and the Boss Man, Jeff Meacham, to Aaron Rift and NoDQ.com, the Greg Cherry Brand, Statboy Mike and Statgirl Dory Lou, yours truly, of course, and so many others. Walter says his mom has diverticulitis. It's no joke. It's no joke. No seeds, no this, no that. It sucks. There you go. So now we're going to roll into SmackDown. And on SmackDown, we had the return of our tribal chief. And yes, as soon as his music dropped, my one went in the air and I was acknowledging him from my couch. Show started with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline coming out. They talk about when one family member does good, they all do good. When one family member messes up, they get smashed. Roman goes on to introduce Solo as the tribal heir, much to Jimmy's disappointment. At this point, Randy Orton comes out, and Orton says he's coming for Roman. Doesn't care who he has to fight, and how he has to get there. He issues a challenge to Roman for a match at the Royal Rumble. Roman says that while Randy has been out for 18 months thinking about Roman, Roman hasn't thought about him one bit. Roman says that he is on another level. He has risen above everybody else on the roster. But Orton says that that may be true while Roman Reigns has developed into a legend. Randy Orton has always remained one thing: a legend killer. Orton goes for the RKO, but Roman escapes. And Randy tells him his new catchphrase, that Daddy's back. We then had a Carmelo Hayes hype video, and man, watching this video on SmackDown just got me hyped for my boy. Melo don't miss. And the fact that he is the NXT representation in this tournament. And let me stop right here. I know there's SmackDown spoilers that are out there. Please do not post the SmackDown spoilers in this chat. I am going to be speaking going forward about this as if SmackDown is going to be live on Friday. So please do not post spoilers and ruin anything. You will be banned. That being said, again, the hype video for Melo just got me so jazzed. Seeing the push for him, if you will. And that led us straight into Grayson Waller versus Carmelo Hayes to see who would advance to the next round to become the number one contender for Logan Paul's United States Championship. And prior to the match, we had Logan Paul kind of taking a few shots at Carmelo Hayes, calling him a nobody. This match, y'all, was an absolute banger. Absolute banger. Great match to get SmackDown rolling, especially after the opening promo. And I'm not trying to knock Roman, but anytime a show starts with a promo of that length, you've got to have a really hot match to get the crowd back into it. So this was the perfect match to start the show off. Melo hit nothing but net, put Waller away, advances in the tournament. So happy to see him. Like Jeff says, man, great seeing Melo on the blue brand. And yes, thank you, Walter. I am avoiding spoilers on purpose because I want to be surprised on Friday. I might be having my daughter here for the weekend. So the fact that we'll get to watch SmackDown together going into Christmas, I don't want to ruin any results of that. After Melo wins, we go into our next match, Kevin Owens versus Austin Theory. And this was just another absolute banger. KO hit the Swanton, but Theory kicked out of it. We then had KO go the Cowboy Bob Orton route because of his broken hand at the hands of Waller and Theory. Used the cast to defeat Theory. So we've got KO versus Melo on one side, and we're going to have Santos versus Lashley on the other side. This could be a huge, huge break for my NXT. Santos has been on the blue brand for a while. Melo just making his debut. Come 2024, man, it could either be Santos or it could be Melo if things go the way that I really want them to go, to then challenge Logan Paul for the US title. The odds are that Lashley or KO will win. But you got to figure that with both Theory and Waller looming, they could end up teaming up to take KO out and indirectly help Melo win. And then over on the other side of things, while you've got the almighty Street Profits to assist Lashley, you don't know if Santos has put together a new Legado del Fantasma yet that could counteract that and distract. So it's very, very possible that we could end up with the finals that's Santos Escobar versus Carmelo Hayes. And the winner gets to fight Logan Paul probably at the Rumble. That would be huge for my NXT. And on top of that, tonight, the Creed brothers challenge the Judgment Day for the undisputed tag titles. And Caden Carter and Katana Chance challenge Piper Niven and Chelsea Green for the women's tag titles. If both of them dethrone the current champs and Santos and Melo are in the finals of this tournament, dude, haters need to stop freaking hating and acknowledge my NXT, goddammit. For real. Because that just says everything that needs to be said right there. We then go backstage to the Bloodline in the dressing room, and Roman wants somebody to silence Randy Orton. Jimmy says, well, it sounds like a job for the Tribal Heir. And Roman says, but it's promotion season. So he begins to hype Jimmy up. Jimmy says, yeet. And Roman just gives him the look. And every single one of us knows the look. We've gotten the look from our parents. We've given the look to our kids. You know exactly what that look was. Roman is not a fan of yeet. Got King Mike in the house. What's going on, brother? Melo. Absolutely. Walter says it's time for Melo to be moved up. Do the reveal of the trick situation, wrap that up, and get Melo on the main roster. Yep. I could actually see Melo being main roster bound after Stand and Deliver. I feel like for some reason the reveal is going to take long enough that we get build, and we will probably end up with Melo versus Trick at Stand and Deliver. Depending on how slow burn it goes, it could even be a loser leaves NXT match. Melo loses, puts Trick over, and then goes up to the main roster. Exactly. Preach, brother. NXT has proven itself time and again in this white and gold era to the point where Noah Foster is actually giving my NXT its props. We then get a Karrion Kross video promo. Looks like we're starting to rebuild him again. It's about time. We'll see what happens, though. This looks like it's about the 332nd time they've repackaged Karrion Kross in the last year. We'll see if it actually does anything. We then have KO walking backstage, and he bumps into Cameron Grimes, who says that he wishes that he could have punched Theory out. Caleb Braxton stops KO, and he asks him about Melo. And KO begins to kind of put Melo over, says that, at one point he was a lot like Melo. He was in NXT. He came up and he challenged John Cena for the United States Championship. And this was 10 years ago. And he's talking about Melo, and then Melo walks up. And Mello says that he respects KO, but he's not like Waller or Theory. So getting a little bit of jaw jacking, a little bit of build up there for their inevitable match, which will be this week. And again, spoilers are out there. Don't spoil it, people. You will get banned. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Walter. I'm over Cross. Sorry, tap out with him. Damn, Cross has been repackaged so much, he's going to be in the clearance aisle at Target a week from tomorrow. Is it one of the targets that the Young Bucks can't manage? King Mike says KO is one of the best NXT call-ups ever. I wasn't watching during that era, but I know Kevin Steen well enough that I could probably agree with that. We then go to Damage Control video promo, and Bailey is just hyping up all the members, talking about their dominance, talking about EO, talking about the Kabuki Warriors, talking about the mastermind that is Dakota Kai, and just really putting over solidly every woman in the freaking stable. And that leads us to the Kabuki Warriors, Kairi Sane and Asuka, versus Zelina Vega and Mia Yim. And this was a good but predictable match. You know, when was the last time that Zelina or Mia won jack diddly shit anything? Nothing. They haven't won anything for a minute. Kairi hits the insane elbow, connects for the win. And yeah, Cross is the present that nobody wants, and you just keep regifting. You know, it's the holiday season. I actually really like Karrion Kross and Scarlett, but Karrion Kross is the fruitcake of the holiday season. Everybody gives it, nobody wants to receive it. Jeff says that Target and Reseda is straight ghetto. Another example of Punk not telling lies. That's why PWG left. There you go. King Mike says Damage Control alone has more women than all the SmackDown roster. That's not true. They just have them better booked. And yeah, I'm digging the rejuvenation of Damage Control, but I fear the end is near. I only fear the end is near for Bailey. Bailey is going to straight up get edged here, just like Judgment Day did to him. The difference is Bailey was left in power for a year and a half instead of just a few months. We then had Jimmy and Solo backstage, and Jimmy is worried about how long Roman and the Wise Man have been talking in private. Jimmy asks Solo, if something was going to happen to me, you'd tell me, right? And Solo keeps quiet for a few minutes. And Jimmy is like, Solo, you would tell me, right? And Solo tells him, I'm your brother. Doesn't say yes, doesn't say no. Just says, I'm your brother. We then had a Santos Escobar video promo hyping up his match against Lashley, followed by a Bobby Lashley promo discussing Santos, hyping their match for this week. The Street Profits talk some trash before Lashley says that Santos is just standing in Lashley's way. Main event time. Ooh, I know. Yay, yay. I'm not going to lie, Jeff. I almost want you to open it, take a picture so you can send it to me, and then just put it back in the box and wrap the box up. Main event time was Randy Orton versus Jimmy Uso. This was a good match, that got a little bit too gimmicky at the end, but what do you expect with the bloodline? Orton pinned Uso. Roman and Solo came out. LA Knight comes out for the save. 3-on-2 beatdown by the bloodline. AJ Styles makes his return, helps to run off the bloodline. AJ then drops LA Knight, and the show goes off the air. Now, I was a little bit confuzzled at this, if I'm being honest, but then a few people reminded me that it was supposed to be Cena and AJ when AJ got attacked by Solo in the bloodline, and LA Knight kind of filled in the spot there. So this is kind of just payback for that. Everyone thinks AJ's gone heel, but AJ didn't drop Randy, who's another babyface. He only attacked LA Knight. So it's going to be interesting to see where this develops. And is AJ a heel, a face, a tweener? Where are we going with this? Because as long as Roman is on top, SmackDown needs baby faces that can feud with him. They don't need to try to do a heel match. Yeah, for real. He's been clanging and banging, man. He is in some great physical shape. King Mike says Roman versus AJ versus LA Knight versus Randy. I don't know. I could see a triple threat to see who gets to face Roman. But I don't know about a fatal four-way. What did you guys think of SmackDown? Let me know in the comments. Going to take another quick commercial as we do. Take a look at all the upcoming specials across open mic night. Kicking off with this Saturday and the eve of Christmas Eve Spectacular. We'll be back in about 40 seconds. All the karaoke, all the karaoke, all the karaoke, all the karaoke, and some game show nights too. Got to put my own little spin on the Simple Man there. That's fair. I'd say about 9 out of 10 SmackDown. All right. Going into Collision. Show opened with Claudio Castagnoli versus Andrade El Idolo. It's a good opening contest between two smarmy heels. Lots of underhanded tactics in this match, mixed in with some good technical wrestling. Claudio got the win after a low blow, followed by the neutralizer. Not a whole lot of surprise to this one. And now we get to move into next week, and it's Claudio Castagnoli versus Bryan Danielson. BCC versus BCC. That should be phenomenal. We had Abaddon versus Jasmine Allure. And again, squash match next. Abaddon got the win. Lights went out. Julia Hart was in the ring. She puts the TBS title in front of Abaddon, almost like a cross the line type of scenario. And Abaddon tackles Julia, and a catfight breaks out. And Sky Blue then comes out and joins Julia in double teaming Abaddon. which brings Thunder Rosa off the commentary booth to come and make the save. And she and Abaddon chase off Julia Hart and Sky Blue. Now, I'm still calling her Sky Blue for right now. Deal with it. My issue with this was Thunder Rosa has been on commentary for the Spanish team for a minute. Why wait until now to bring her back? The AEW women's division has really been struggling and could have benefited, 6 months ago from Thunder Rosa. And they just wait for now. And no, she's been cleared for a minute to come back. It's not like she just got cleared. They just had nothing for her. And this is how they're going to bring her into things, is with the TBS title, not the world title. I have a slight issue with that. But above everything else in this match, I just don't buy into Abaddon. I've said it a few times. Abaddon is what happens when Danhausen and Shotzi have a kid. You get Abaddon. Yeah. Jasmine Allure is a great talent, but not a great contracted AEW talent. So she's great feeder. But Abaddon, until these last few weeks, has barely been on television. So she's more or less a jobber too. And I get that they're trying to correct that. But Abaddon has no connection with the crowd. Nobody seems to care about her. We then had Renee and the Acclaimed backstage, and the three are pissed about the Devil's attack on them. They haven't really been seen since then. And they're back with a vengeance. They're looking for a fight. Top Flight comes in, and they issue a challenge for next week, which is accepted by the Acclaimed. So we're going to have trios action on Dynamite. The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass versus Top Flight and Action Andretti. That I'm looking forward to. Hey, to each their own, bruh. You're okay with the way it played out. You're a fan of Abaddon. I personally am not. I hear you, but the fans aren't reacting to her because Julia Hart is so over. They're hitting the reset, putting her in there with the wrong people. They need to put her in there with people that she can be the babyface or defined heel over. Julia Hart is a heel, but the people love her. Sky Blue is becoming a heel, but the people love her. Nobody cares that Abaddon is getting beat down by two heels. They barely cared that Thunder Rosa made a return. Yeah. I turn the channel when I see her. If I didn't have to take notes, I probably would too, King Mike. And that's fair. We then had Orange Cassidy versus Brian Keith. And this was just another fantastic match. Again, Orange Cassidy, AEW MVP of 2023. Brian Keith really opened people's eyes at Ring of Honor Final Battle. He had a tremendous match on the 0 Hour and then showed up and showed out in Survival of the Fittest, almost taking it, made it all the way to third place. Had another banner here with Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy won the match, obviously, retaining his international championship. But Brian Keith doesn't lose because he still looked like $1 million. I would not be surprised to see a Brian Keith is all elite graphic here in the next week or two. We then had Commander get interviewed, and Roddy and the Kingdom come in. Roddy says that he thinks that he's found his next victim, which is going to be Commander. We then had FTR in the ring cutting a promo, and they called out the House of Black. He calls them, Dax is on the microphone here, or no, Cash, excuse me. Cash is on the microphone here, and he calls House of Black jealous. Jealous of FTR, jealous of Julia Hart and the fact that she's a champion, jealous of Brody Keenan, his success in the Continental Classic tournament. And Dax then takes the mic and goes on to make a challenge. But the mics get cut. House of Black appear on the big screen, and Buddy Matthews and Malachi Black begin to cut their promo. And they ask, who has FTR's back? Nobody. When they attacked FTR, who came to their rescue? Nobody. Malachi then pulls out a picture of Dax, his wife, and his little girl and burns it. Drops it into a fire barrel. This was some good storytelling here, but it needs to develop more. Right now, the chili pot is barely coming to a simmer. I have a feeling this is going to be something really good, but it needs to keep going. There can be some great stuff to come out of this. AEW stories are really starting to get that potential to them. They just need to be presented in a way that the fans care. There you go. Jeff says the show is moving too fast to keep current on commenting. Sorry, brother. But I strongly disagree about the women, at least in this instance. I guess I'll have to plead their case on musings. There you go. So make sure you tune into Meech's musings today and hear Jeff with his counterpoint. We then had a Shane Taylor, Keith Lee hype video, kind of re-going through their storyline and their feud and the match that they had in Final Battle, which was an amazing contest. And then we went into a Texas street fight. Chris Statlander and Willow versus Diamante and Mercedes Martinez. And Chris Statlander and Willow came out looking like Vincent and Jules from Pulp Fiction. Diamante and Mercedes came out looking like From Dusk Till Dawn. And holy shit. This was, by and large, the match of the night. This is how you do violence and still make it entertaining and fun. Swerve and Hangman, take notes on this match. This was better than the Texas Death Match. Plus, you ready for this? This match was actually in Texas. Yeah. Texas Death Match in Los Angeles, bad. Texas Street Fight in Texas, good. Both matches were just balls to the wall violence. These women were bleeding. They were using thumbtacks. They were using barbed wire. They did pretty much all the major spots that Swerve and Hangman did. Nobody was trying to drink anyone else's blood, though. I've said it before, I've said it again. That's what killed that match for me. You remove that segment of the match, I can deal with the violence in Hangman Swerve. But the minute they started drinking blood, I'm done. I'm done. Because this isn't Gangrel brewed freaking fruit punch and corn syrup and shit. No, this is legitimate blood. I agree, King Mike. I am part of the Willow section. I agree. Push Willow in 2024. Honestly, I would have Willow be the one to dethrone Julia Hart. Not yet. Julia just got the belt. But long-term storytelling, I would have Willow be the one to dethrone her. But this was by and large match of the night. And if you missed it, go back and rewatch this match. We then had Renee Paquette with Toni Storm and Mariah May. And Toni is asked who she would rather face, Riho or Saraya. We then had an Adam Copeland video. And Adam Copeland just goes through his journey and his times with Christian and his quest and the fact that he has this need to be a champion again. And he's coming after Christian, and he challenges Christian to a no DQ match at World's End for the TNT Championship. Will Christian accept the challenge? I'm sure we'll find out on either Dynamite or Collision this week. We then had Brian Cage versus Kerry Wright. Squash match next. We then had Lexi backstage, and she interviews Brian Cage in the Mogul Embassy. And Keith Lee comes in, and he tells Cage that he can tell him that he's coming, and his patience is running out. So we're finally starting to reroute things to get back to Swerve versus Keith Lee, it looks like, because they never had their blow off. So I'm looking forward to that. Because Keith Lee, if we're being honest, has just kind of been wandering aimlessly since Swerve and Our Glory broke up, while Swerve has been on this huge upwards trajectory. Keith Lee has become Marty Jannetty to Swerve's Shawn Michaels. Or if we want to make an analogy just because it's an African-American team, Keith Lee has become Stevie Ray while Swerve has become Booker T. We then had Daniel Garcia taking on Eddie Kingston. For me, personally, this was a meh match. I'm not a Kingston fan. Everybody knows that. I am a fan of Daniel Garcia. I enjoyed his attempts in this match. He tried, but Eddie Kingston got the win. It just was what it was. Yeah, maybe, just maybe, Keith Lee will get a renewed look. I hope so. And Jeff says, now that they've gotten the blow off for Keith and Shane, maybe. King Mike saying, don't waste my boy Keith this time, TK. Yeah. I agree. Granted, I don't know Keith Lee to the level that some of y'all do, because when I first started watching again, he was Bearcat Keith Lee on Raw, I think. And then shortly after that, he left and came over to AEW, and it was what it was. So I didn't see prime black and gold NXT Keith Lee. But for a big dude, Keith Lee is awesome. I know he's bigger than, but I put him in the same category that I put like Samoa Joe. Dudes of that size shouldn't be able to move the way they do, but he does. But at this point, like I said, Swerve is Booker T and Keith Lee is Stevie Ray. Main event was Bryan Danielson versus Brody King, and this was a huge, hard-hitting main event. Brody did his best, but Danielson was the better man on this occasion, as we figured he would be. Again, when they announced this tournament, we all said that this tournament was made for someone like Bryan Danielson to shine. It's no surprise that he is where he is in the Blue League. What did you guys think of Collision? I didn't think it was that bad. You know, there was a comment King Mike said that this show was awful for him. I don't know if I would say it was awful, bro. I'd maybe say it was the weakest of the weekend. I will give you that. But I don't know if I would call it awful, if for no other reason but for that women's street fight. And all the tournament matches were good enough, you know. It's just that this tournament and the round robin thing has made it very predictable for me. And it's not, it could be so much better booked. If you were going to have people in there like Jay Lethal, like Daniel Garcia, like Mark Briscoe, that were just going to be pin eaters and jobbers, then put all the pin eaters and jobbers in the same bracket. That way they get wins. And then you've got to make the choice over the Swerves, the Moxleys, the Danielsons, the Claudios, the Keens. You know, those are the ones that you know are going to rack shit up. But if they've all got to fight each other, then they've really got to scratch and claw. Because not every person can win every time. Jeff says, I think the social media interaction regarding the show is what was awful, and that's not any of the in-ring talent. Okay, maybe. Chris says 6 out of 10. King Mike says that he liked Willow's match. That was the only one. Fair enough. All right. Well, we're going to take one more quick commercial break. We're going to show you the watch along trailer that will take us from World's End through the Bash in Berlin. Jeff, since you're watching, I have not added the 2 newest ones yet. That will be done shortly, though. But we'll be back in about 40 seconds.
3, 2, 1.
So there you go. That is everything that is going to be coming up across the multiverse of media for watch-alongs. Plus, we've added 2 more ones. The first week of January is going to be nuts. We're doing Day 1 Raw, and we're doing New Year's Revolution Smackdown, in addition to everything else that you just saw. So much content. All the wrestling, all the wrestling, all the wrestling, all the professional wrestling, damn it. And sports entertainment with no sleep. Jesus. They just can't give us a break. Hello, Grandma Daisy. Thank you for subscribing. Rick Martel, Bob Holly, 2024 Hall of Fame. I wouldn't be opposed to that, especially the model Rick Martel. Got some great stories to tell about that, but we'll do that as we get closer to Mania season. Actually, a little bit of bad timing, Grandma Daisy, because we're just getting ready to sign off here. If you missed last week, go back in the archives and check out Jeff and I doing Dad's Not Always on Wrestling, top 10 Christmas songs that aren't about Christmas. Man, we Brian Caged that shit. We got that done in just over an hour. And for Jeff and I to talk about Christmas and not go 2.5, 3 hours, that's an achievement unlocked in and of itself. Make sure you guys tune in later on today for Meech's Musings, 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern, where Jeff will give his rebuttal to what I had to say about the women in AEW here earlier today. And then, of course, this Saturday, the eve of Christmas Eve Spectacular, our second annual open mic night Christmas karaoke event. Got a lot of people planning to be there to perform for y'all for the right super chats. We will be doing a 2-for-1 as well on the wheel. Anyone that super chats the $15 or $25 tiers will get 2 songs for the price of 1. If you only super chat the $5 tier, you only get 1. But if you super chat the $15 or $25 tiers, you get a 2-fer. That is our Christmas present to you from the multiverse of media. I'm going to mention this a few more times this week, but next week there will be a change in scheduling as well as the week after. So for Christmas Day and New Year's Day. On Christmas Day and New Year's Day, since those are Mondays, there will be no For the Love of Wrestling. We will be doing our weekend show recap on Tuesday the 26th and Tuesday the 2nd of January. Then on the Wednesday the 27th and Wednesday the 3rd, we will do Raw and NXT on the same show. Thursday the 28th and the 4th will be Dynamite as normal. And then come the 8th of January, it'll be back to regular programming. But we will be giving no shows on Christmas Day and New Year's Day because of the holidays. And then, like I said, we'll be doing makeups throughout the week. Hope everybody understands. But until all of that, make sure you tune in tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel as I do my review of Raw. And until all of that, I am the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams, saying thank you for tuning in and joining me today. And I will see you guys tomorrow.
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.
Thank you, JJ. Appreciate you.